Hey guys, and welcome back to Mangotology. If you're new here, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Steven Mango, and I'm an ex-Scientologist that makes videos here on YouTube exposing Scientology. If you'd like to stay up to date on all my videos, please make sure to go down below and hit that red subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications, and you'll get an alert whenever I release a new video exposing Scientology. And for today's video, I'm going to talk to you guys about how Scientology tried to sabotage and ruin my acting career, how they tried to get me blacklisted in Hollywood, how they tried to extort money out of me, promising me help with my acting career, and also try to scam my family for money in order to try to help me with my acting career, and how basically Scientology uses up-and-coming artists, actors, musicians, and other young hopefuls like myself, how they use them in their celebrity center system and ultimately get them to become die-hard billionaire contract signing Scientologists. So this is still pertinent in 2020 and stories some of you guys may not have already heard if you are a frequent watcher of my channel. So if you want to come along with this journey with me, I guess, and rewind time a little bit, then keep on watching. Hi again guys, so before we get into today's video, I just want to let you know that yesterday I posted a brand new video about how Scientology ruined one of my very close friendships between me and my best friend Vanessa just only a couple weeks ago. And I also talked to you guys and give you an update on the Karen De La Courier situation, how she tried to scam me to $7,500, filed police reports on me, and so much more craziness. So I'm gonna link that video down below in case you weren't on YouTube in the last couple days and you want kind of like an update on the last like 6 to 8 weeks of the world of Steve Mango. So in case you missed that video, I'm gonna link it down below. But for today's video, like I said, we're gonna be talking about Scientology as it pertained to my acting career and how they kind of try to blacklist me in Hollywood, more or less. So I know you guys know or knew that for many years I was pursuing my acting career in Hollywood, and you guys know like pretty much the gist, I guess you could say, about how Scientology was trying to scam me as like this young hopeful actor. And I'm not going to go through like my whole entire story obviously for you guys. There's obviously a 2.5 hour video on my channel about that, but I want to kind of go into a little bit more like depth about it and talk about it in kind of like a new unit of time, if you will. I was watching the Ryan Murphy show on Netflix called Hollywood, about kind of like the olden days of Hollywood, if you will, from like the 20s or 30s. I don't really remember exactly what year, but it's an amazing show actually. It's like a 5 or 7 episode like mini series by Ryan Murphy, and it's a really great show. And it was making me just kind of think about my like past acting career and kind of like, I don't know, for some reason the show just like kind of seeing like these different young, you know, back in the day it was set, but these like young hopefuls that kind of come to Hollywood and trying to like sleep with different people to kind of like level up and get parts in Hollywood and stuff like that. But it was just making me think about like the days of like when I wanted to be an actor. And you guys know like I've been kind of flip-flopping more or less about if I want to continue to pursue my acting career. I really haven't, honestly. I know people think like, oh, you're just on YouTube to try to become famous and be an actor or whatever, and it's almost more the opposite, guys. If I was trying to become famous, I honestly could on YouTube. I could spend thousands of dollars a month and get a publicist and collaborate with big YouTube stars that I know, and I could really blow myself up if I really wanted to be like famous. But I really do like, I'm a very private, very quiet type of person. I don't really like that type of attention, honestly. I would like to be a working actor if a day ever came, or to be in commercials or on a television show, or even produce one of my own projects. Like I think that would be really cool, but I would like to do acting and not really necessarily be in the limelight. I know that people think you have to have both, but you really could be like a working actor, do like 100 commercials and not necessarily be like a famous person. But again, years ago, when I was like 18 years old, 10, 11 years ago, I did want to be famous. I did want to be an actor and wanted to be a superstar, more or less. And I was willing to do basically anything to get that opportunity. Now, at this point, like I said, am I gonna go more towards trying to be a Hollywood star? I don't know. Am I gonna try to go to nursing school, like I said, or maybe do something in another capacity in the social media world? Maybe. But when I was watching this Netflix show, it's like, oh, I kind of miss like being an actor, and like what went wrong all those years ago to where I didn't get to where I wanted to be. And again, on this channel, I'm talking more specifically about the Scientology correlation of different things in my life. So again, I'm not blaming Scientology for everything. I know it seems that way when I'm making videos about Scientology and how it has affected different areas of my life. I just want you guys to know I'm not the victim of Scientology for every sort of thing, and I don't want to paint myself in that way, but I need you guys to understand that Scientology, even if you're in for a couple of years, it could still have a very long-term effect on your life. Even because I was 18 years old, I was just moving to Hollywood. You guys know I was coming from a small town in Boston, came at 17 years old, not even 18, and it was really terrifying. And I need you guys to understand that point too, is I know I'm not the only person who had a dream and came to LA type of thing to try to make it in some form and capacity in the entertainment world, but I didn't have a college degree. Came out of high school feeling rebellious. I was gay, but I was in the closet, so no one really knew. I didn't even tell like any friends, nobody, because I was kind of in denial, because I thought that for my acting career, if it was, again, perceived that I was gay, which obviously you guys look at me like, oh yeah, he's a big Fruit Loop type of thing, and obviously, but you know, when you're in the closet, you can kind of tough it up a little bit and try to disguise it. And being an actor, like I try to do my best to kind of like lower my voice a little bit and kind of calm down the hands and like the different ways and my mannerisms to try to push myself up a little bit more or less so I can make it in Hollywood. And it was this sort of thing too, where this was, again, 11 years ago. And even though I was in West Hollywood, or like a very gay-oriented area, I still came from a small town where I was being bullied in 2004, 2005, like these young years in my life where I was being tormented, called every derogatory gay slang in the book, and I was being beaten, and I was being pushed into lockers, and teachers would make fun of me, and I thought being gay was a bad thing. In Catholic school, when they're telling you that if you're gay, you're going to hell, and all these different things, I felt different than everyone else where I grew up. So this idea of like, screw that, I'm coming to Hollywood, I'm gonna be a big star and prove all you guys wrong, and being gay was this like bad thing that I was hating who I really was as a person, so I wanted to be anything but that. Later on, when I knew that Scientology was kind of going in a roundabout way to tell me more or less that they can kind of audit out any of these like lower conditions that you're in, such as being gay, such as being having like different sexual perversions, because again, that's what it was kind of more presented as, is like some sort of sexual perversion. So if I fix that perversion, then maybe I will magically be straight. But again, that's another video. But when I came to LA, again, I was really scared, because I'm trying to prove my family wrong. I'm trying to prove my friends wrong. They all, not friends necessarily as much as family, but other people like, oh yeah, you'll be back in 6 months and you'll be crying and you'll have to go to school, and I'll be back in my parents' bedroom and they're going to force me to go to college to study, you know, engineering or something that I didn't want to do. And I wanted anything but that type of life for myself. And if I went back to Boston too, and that's the pressure on myself, then my family and friends and other people would be back in that homophobic environment. Even though I wasn't sure if I was coming out of the closet, if I, you know, was going to stay in, or I didn't really necessarily know, just because I was in that homophobic upbringing from every single person I knew laughing about being gay or LGBT or whatever. I didn't want to go back to that life. So the only thing for me was to make it in Hollywood so I can have enough money so I could stay in LA. So I book a commercial and make $40,000 in 2-3 days. That's another way to stay in LA until I kind of got that momentum, hopefully booking some acting jobs, so I could be staying in Hollywood and kind of like have like a new life for myself because of how much I was tormented. So I know that was kind of going off a little bit into left field. We know that I ramble on this channel, guys, so bear with me. I'm going to get to the point. It was just like a really difficult time for me in those days. So when I found Scientology after only a month or two of being in LA, and they're promising to handle every problem I have, you can get rid of this reactive mind, it was very appealing to me. And this is like a new family of people who, when I said I want to be an actor, they're like, you're going to be like the next Tom Cruise. You could be like John Travolta. John Travolta, they said, stood at the Celebrity Center. Whatever this first show he was on, Welcome Back, Kotter, one of those, I don't remember what show it was. They said that he was standing in the Celebrity Center, and he was in one of like the chorus rooms or wherever it was, and he made a postulate. Postulate in Scientology is like a wish, a self-determined decision. You say, for example, I will book that television show. And he pointed in the direction of like Paramount Studios or wherever it was. And he beamed his intention to like the casting office. Like, I booked the role of whatever the character's name was in Welcome Back, Kotter. I already did it, right? I booked that show. You do it from like the point of view as if you already have done that. Went on and booked that show. And then they would tell you, you could also do that. We can teach you how to make a postulate like that. We can teach you how to remove all counter thought, counter intention. You could have that power to be able to like manifest these different things. And this is multi-part, guys. So this is just one element of how Scientology is promising. So this is the first kind of part, is like doing these type of postulates. Like, wow, I can make these postulates so I can make anything come true. So even if it's not acting, basically any area of my life, if it's financial, because again, LA is not cheap to live in. My first apartment was like $1,500 a month, and that was 10 years ago. So $1,500 back then was a lot of money. I mean, it still is to spend $1,500 a month on rent, but especially when you're unemployed, right? It's going to go very quick. Even if you save $10,000 before you come to LA, that's boom, gone in 3 months by the time you take acting classes and all those different sort of things. So they're going to teach postulates. Once you get rid of your reactive mind, which you think would be a benefit as an actor, because as an actor, you have to be able to conjure up emotions like at will. If I have to like be really emotional in an audition or a scene, what you do as an actor, and it's not the only way, but you have to conjure up very painful sort of experiences in your life. Like if your aunt died or something, or a lover, like whomever, you'd have to draw up that experience and trigger yourself to where like you remember that. You can have like a photograph of your aunt before you go into the audition, or if she had like a locket or something that will like kind of trigger that pain to come back, so then you could put that into the script or whatever the pieces that you're going in for. Scientology would say you don't have to do that. Like you don't have to trigger up your reactive mind. They say it's better to get rid of the reactive mind, so then there's not that painful connotation there. Get rid of the reactive mind, so then your creativity comes up, and then you're going to use imaginary circumstances to be able to draw on. And basically doing exercises, this is how Scientology trains actors, is you're using the tone scale, and the tone scale goes anywhere from body death all the way up to like enthusiasm. And between that, there's like boredom, there's antagonism, there's just all these different emotions. And they teach you basically to drill these different emotions. So then you have to get into boredom. And then they say, okay, now go into enthusiasm. Yeah, whatever, right? So then they train you how to go up and down on this tone scale. So they say, hey, it's healthier for you because you're not going to have to always drum up all these like painful, hurtful things. Get rid of that reactive mind, and then you basically have the ability to go up and down emotionally without having to trigger up painful emotions. And I'm like, hey, that makes sense. Like that point in time in my life, even though yes, I was bullied and I had like basically like first world problems, a lot of people in my acting classes back in those days used to be like, oh, I was beaten as a child and given up for adoption, and I was hungry and on the street, and they had like all these really like painful, horrible things that happened to them in their life, where their art was much more like flavorful, right? And it makes sense that if that person had like those painful experiences in their life, that a lot of them were better actors in a lot of ways, because for me, I didn't have like those same sort of stakes. Even though I did have like some painful things, my parents were wealthy. Like I had a home growing up. I always had food. I went to Catholic school in like a private school, even though it was, you know, traumatizing, but it still wasn't like some of these other people had it. So it was hard for me to draw up the same sort of emotions as a kid. But Scientology would be like, no, 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 we have made all these different stars. We can help you like take these like Scientology acting classes. So there was like that element as well. Then there's the element of, we have this networking night, I think it was like Sunday nights or something, where once you do a certain amount of Scientology coursework and you're like devoted to the cause, you don't let just anyone go. It's kind of like by invitation. Like once you've been like kind of on the bridge taking courses, there's a networking night where you can go. It's not for the public, that you're going to go with the Scientology directors, writers, producers, other actors, Scientology celebrities, and everyone on this night is going to talk about like, hey, like I'm working on this project, I'm working on that one. And it's a collaborative effect, because you only want to work with other Scientology talent or other people, because they're the ones who are here on this planet that are trying to go free and go clear and do all these wonderful things in their eyes, right? So if you have the choice between picking a Scientology actor for your production who's going to donate money to the church, who's considered theta, who is on the bridge and on purpose and doing great things, why would you want to hire that person versus like someone who might be a drug addict, sort of? This is Scientology, obviously, like looking down in disgust of these type of people who are like non-optimum in a way, and like someone who might not even show up for the job, who is drinking, or just low life kind of actors, the wogs they would consider it. Like, obviously you'd want to pick the Scientology actor if you could. So it's considered advantageous because, like, hey, if I'm on the Scientology team, right, at Celebrity Center, and I'm paying money for these courses, then I'm going to be able to, say, work with whoever that's a Scientology executive in the entertainment world. So there was the promise of being able to do that. So I'm like, hey, like, Hollywood's competitive. And I know people have given me so much like crap over the years, like, oh, like, you know, you were just willing to pay Scientology and like take these courses, you know, to try to help you with your career or whatever. And it's like, you are mean, you're 18 years old and you're scared because, you know, you could ultimately be homeless, more or less, after a certain number of months, until I started doing like background acting and I started making money and stuff like that. But this idea that like I could lose my future of like, it takes time in Hollywood to build up a career and do stuff, but if I could have that leg up and have a chance to maybe book a television show, if Scientology could help me in that way. It's like anything. It doesn't matter if it's acting, if it was like, oh, I'm an accountant and they have an accounting firm, they could help hire me, whatever it is, I don't care. You would take that opportunity. It's not, if it's a 1 in a million shot and now you're in a different playing field of other people that's being promised this. It doesn't mean it's the truth. We know that there's only a handful of people in the entertainment world probably that are Scientologists. It's a joke now. No one's gonna hire Scientology actors because they have affiliation to Scientology. We know that now, but we're talking 2009, we're talking pre-Going Clear, before my Scientology movie with the BBC, before like anything big in the media kind of happened. Leah Remini, before that. We're talking about like 2009 here, and even a little bit before then. So it was that promise, right? So I had that. What ended up happening was I started taking some of these like really big, prominent acting classes that could have probably helped me if I stayed in them, in the sense of I could have maybe networked or had different opportunities, or you know, just in general, like being in some of these like major classes of people who've trained like the biggest stars of our time, more or less, right? I had those classes that I was putting on my resume, but I remember one in particular, I won't say the name of the teacher because I just don't personally care for this individual, not that it makes a difference, like this person's gonna see it, but I was in this class and it was one of my major classes that I was in, very, very expensive to take too, by the way. It was like the first 6 weeks were like $1,000 or $1,200. Then every month you had to pay like say $500 a month. It was something crazy, but I'm like, hey, it's an investment. I saw this acting coach on television, I think at one point. So I'm like, hey, like let me sign up for their class. After I already put like thousands of dollars, or not thousands, but at least $1,200, I would say, into this class, the teacher was starting to recommend that the students start going to therapy, because it was like this idea of like, if you could understand like your blockages and like where you hold yourself back, like with your emotions, because it's true, like even if you know, like, hey, I need to be like devastated in an acting scene, it's okay to like show that emotion and to feel that. A lot of times we protect ourselves and build up these walls like, ooh, I don't want to go there, I don't want to feel that. And they're saying like, hey, if you go see these different therapists that help actors just feel more like emotionally like vulnerable, I guess, I don't know, or being able to understand their pain, then they could bring it to your acting work, I guess. But I had to report to Scientology what I was doing on those days that I wasn't coming in. So say it was like Monday and Wednesdays, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there was like a certain amount of period of time where to devote to those type of classes, and they're like 6 hours long, and they go through all these like script analysis and all these different things. So they'd be like, hey, like, why aren't you coming on course these days? I'm like, hey, I'm taking class at blah, blah, blah acting studio. And it's like, ooh, like, no, like that teacher may be on like some sort of like unsavory list. But knowing that they recommend the students to go to therapy at that time, again, I wasn't in Scientology that long to really know like the anti-psychiatry stance or mental health stuff. I was still kind of in like the beginning sort of book and lecture courses, but I was still on this path of thinking Scientology was going to help me become this huge superstar, but also help my personal emotional traumas and with my sexuality kind of mixed in. So again, it wasn't like I only was going to Scientology to become a star. I was also trying to handle a lot of the bullying and trauma in my life, and also the love bombing, the sense of community. We believe in you, Steve. You're so talented. You're going to be the next Tom Cruise. We're going to help you get to where you want to be. I didn't think that they told everyone this. For some reason, I was maybe narcissistic to think I was this big, amazing superstar. I was really funny. Like, I wanted to be more or less like a comedian. Like, everyone in my town like thought I was the funniest person alive. My family, everyone. I'm like, wow, like I felt like I could really be on a sitcom. In Scientology, wow, you're so funny, and all these different things. So they buttered me up, and I thought like, wow, no one else believed in me, but look, this is a place where all these big stars go to. It's the celebrity center after all. They're not gonna lie to me and just tell me this if they didn't actually believe in me. They would tell me to get lost. I'd go to another Scientology org. Really, I was just a sucker to them, right? So they made me get out of that acting class, right? So slowly and surely, I had to get rid of like all my acting classes. So then it was almost like the indoctrination into Scientology, where they had to like get rid of anything that was in my way that I was doing, like for my career, personal side, just to devote to Scientology. So then I'm kind of like, ooh, like, I don't know, but I'm kind of like trusting that Scientology is going to help me become a better person so I can be a better actor. So I had to get out of that acting class. Most of my other classes I ended up having to quit. So it was like us versus them. Like I started having to like pick Scientology over like what would have actually helped my career, right? So even later on, don't be with a talent agent that's a WOG, be with a Scientologist talent agent and stuff like that, which again is the control where if you leave Scientology and you have a Scientology talent agent, what are they going to do? They're going to drop you and you're not going to be getting any acting work. So it ended up becoming like that sort of situation where it ended up also trying to get me to bring my dad to the Celebrity Center. And I've told this story before, and it also was the story about my grandmother too, where they wanted to wine and dine my dad and try to get him to go to like their fancy restaurant with the idea that like, hey, you don't have a lot of money, but your dad's rich, right? So if we bring him here, which he never ended up going, thankfully, but if we take him here, we could try to show him how each and every single course is almost like a program that we put together for you to help you with your acting career. So it's not going to be presented to your dad like, hey, we need $15,000 for, you know, some Scientology level, right? We're going to say, hey, he needs to take tours and objectives to help him with his communication. Don't you think, Steve, that if your dad knows that you're going to communicate better, then all acting is communication, being able to relay communication from one point to another. So if your dad knows that you're going to have like this optimum level of communication and you go to an audition, you're going to be like, have that star quality to you because you're going to be able to communicate and have a special formula to communicate better than any other person. So you're going to stand out. Then we're going to tell your dad if we get you on this cleanse, right, the purification program, then all the drugs, toxins, anything bad that's in your body, you're going to sweat all that out. Then you're going to be able to access different parts of yourself that were kind of like numbed down by like pesticides or anything in our society. Your mind is going to be so much more like defogged, more or less, and you could access depths of your emotion even better than you could. Then we're going to tell your dad we need to do a life repair program for auditing. So we're going to figure out spiritually what areas of your life you need handled and handle those areas. So then you know, if you're studying scripts or having problems with memorization or just other things, we're going to unleash all those blockages in your life repair auditing program. So then there's nothing holding you back. We're going to do a little bit of auditing for you. We're going to get you on some basic book and lecture courses such as Science or Survival. If you're on Science or Survival, it teaches you, Steve, that what kind of the emotional tone scale first, right? You're going to be able to identify where people are on this tone scale so you can be able to ultimately communicate with them at that level and slowly bring them up. So if they're in boredom, you're going to go 2 levels higher than boredom, and you're going to bring that person up a little higher and a little higher until they're in enthusiasm. Once they're in enthusiasm for you, Steve, don't you think if you're in a talent agent's office, they're going to want to sign you because you made them feel better and you're able to kind of talk to them and you bring them up. So if I'm in boredom, then I'm going to go into anger, and then I'm going to go into this level, and then it kind of brings a person up the tone scale, and you're going to learn how to do that. So see how these books, Steve, like, you're not going to be like tricking your dad for the money, but we're going to show him that even though he might not be on board with Scientology, he's going to be on board to want to help you with your acting career. So they're trying to do that. Then I told the story too before, I don't remember how much detail, but again, quickly, with my grandmother, they would tell my grandmother, like, or they tell me to tell my grandmother, like, hey, if we get her debit card number over the phone, this is the grandmother with the fixed income. I told this story before, probably. And again, I was so close. She was like my mother. She's been passed away now for a couple of years. It's like worst thing ever because I love my grandmother, wish I can call her, but I would never like do this, obviously, but they would be like, hey, we can bill it as Celebrity Center International, not Church of Scientology, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, if we ask her for like $3,000 or something, just say you need for your acting class or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. They're like, well, A, all old people have a little bit of money they're sitting on, but B, if you do this, then you're going to help your career, you're going to help Scientology and mankind. So it's not like you're tricking your grandmother in any way, but she's going to want to help and want to see you succeed. All grandparents love their grandchildren. Like, she's going to want to see you do well in life. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to do that to my grandmother. Like, I'm not going to trick her when she's a Catholic to take or to pay for Scientology, right? So they would always have a way, and I'm sure people fall for it, right? Or they trick other people's elderly grandparents. Like, This isn't like Scientology, like they're new to doing these type of things, right? So there was all those different type of elements that Scientology would try to do. And eventually it got to the point where I was just slowly giving up my acting dreams to try to become an auditor and do Scientology, because I realized what they would try to say is A, we can put you in Scientology films, and that's going to bring so much more freedom to mankind. You don't want to play a psychiatrist on television. You don't want to play a drug addict. You don't want to play like these low-toned characters, because you have to take on their beingness, which is their identity. So if you're taking on the identity of a drug addict, you're going to have to start acting like one, thinking like one, and being in that sort of mindset. That's very low tone. That's not bringing freedom to anyone. But if we put you in Scientology films like Dianetics, and millions of people around the world in Scientology orgs are going to see you promoting Dianetics, you're going to help so many people and feel so good, right? And you're going to be able to be an actor. You're being an actor for films that are going to help be spiritually freeing people. Even if you join the Sea Org, then you're going to be able to join the Sea Org and help people all over the world do Scientology. So that was kind of what was presented to me at that point. And then eventually, like when I'm on course all the time, I'm not taking those acting classes, even Scientology ones. They have like the acting center, which is a Scientology school, didn't go to that. I was just kind of thinking eventually, like, hey, like, it's not, maybe I'm supposed to just be a Scientologist, right? And I would be a background actor. So eventually, that's how I kind of stayed in LA. I was making like good money, like not 100,000 a year, but not 50, like somewhere in between there, right? So I was making pretty decent money at that time. I could pay my bills, but I was getting into tons of credit card debt, and any like spare money I had, which was still not a lot, but it would all go to Scientology, just thousands a month, boom, 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 just giving money to Scientology to try to go up the bridge, because I thought, hey, if I'm clear, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to be all these different things that I wanted to be, which never happened, but that's what was being promised to me. So quickly, just like through the indoctrination of Scientologists, like I slowly morphed into just like being a Scientologist. And it's almost like I look back at that, like, how did I let that self happen to me? Like, I came here so motivated, so driven, like I signed up for all these classes, like all these headshots, doing mailings to agents and meeting with 1 million people and trying to go to auditions, and somehow I was willing to almost like give all that up in my youth, right? I want to be on Disney, Nickelodeon, like these kid shows. You have to do that when you're 18 and 20. I can't do it now at 29. I mean, I could to play like a teacher on one of those shows, but I wanted to be one of these like Miley Cyrus like type of young stars, and I basically let Scientology like blindside me away from acting and go into this world of Scientology to become an auditor of like all different things. And I thought, hey, I'll take some Scientology courses to try to like help me be a better actor, and I ended up just giving most of that up just to try to be a Scientologist. And eventually what they do is they say, hey, like if you get declared a suppressive person, which happens, they will message, and they put out a suppressive persons declare, obviously, but anyone in the entertainment industry that's a Scientologist gets the declare. So they know not to call you in for an audition. So they know to drop you if you have like a talent agent that's a Scientologist or whatever. Like they know, like, boom, Stephen Mango is now blacklisted in the Scientology acting community sort of world, which now I see is very small, but you think it's like the whole entertainment industry at large knows that you're a suppressive person, since all their industry people do get a SP declare notice on you. So when I left and I made my video, that's what happened. They send the SP declare saying I'm suppressive, don't hire Steve Mango, don't work with him, or anything in the entertainment industry. So even though it is a small number, there was 1 or 2 casting directors that did a lot of Disney, Nickelodeon shows, ABC Family, whatever at that time. So I felt like my career was over and I spoke up, but I knew I was doing the right thing. And I kind of went to hairdressing school, kind of fell on like a different path. But to me, it was still devastating, the idea that, hey, Scientology has that sort of power of control in Hollywood, I thought. But really, we know it's only like a small number of like casting directors and professionals and stuff. So it's not really what they make it to be. So I know that I'm okay now if I was trying to pursue my acting career, but I know that with these acting classes they have at Celebrity Center, they're doing them virtually now during COVID-19, where it says how to get an agent, how to get a manager, how to get in Screen Actors Guild. Celebrity Center actually has a website that lists all of these different acting seminars that are now being done virtually for the Celebrity Center. So if you go to, it's something like ccindustryseminars.com. I just came across it when I was Googling, and they list all the different type of acting seminars that they have. This is an example of one that they're doing virtually about how to book work on a sitcom. So you can see something such as that would be really appealing to a young, new, aspiring wannabe actor to Hollywood. So this is just an example, one of many that they host. post about. Maybe like they do like 1 to 2 of these per week. And this is basically exactly how I got roped into Scientology in the first place. I host these workshops for people that are like me, who don't know any better, thinking I'm taking an acting class at Celebrity Center, not knowing it's Scientology Celebrity Center. And what they're doing now is they're assigning you like a mentor, like one of these actory, like working actor types. They'll assign you like a mentor in order to like kind of work one-on-one with you. So before I was in one of these workshops that got me into Scientology, that's how I found Celebrity Center, was through one of these like $50 acting courses. But what they're doing is they'll get you one of these mentors and they'll be like, hey, come on, Steve, like that's how I got my big break in Hollywood. I took this course too. And they'll work with you one-on-one now in order to get you to sign up for Scientology, because it's harder to promote Scientology nowadays given all the bad press. But if it's one-on-one, they can do just like a narcissistic or toxic sort of abusive sort of thing. They'll work one-on-one, like an abusive relationship, more or less is how I look at it, in order to get you into Scientology and taking these courses, monitoring, making sure you're showing up, and promising you the world for your acting career, because that's the only way now that they can get people to like step foot into the Celebrity Center. So there's virtual workshops now. They can get you in any city to start working on Scientology courses from home, or if you're in Hollywood to try to be an actor or some sort of thing, there's still these $50 courses. I remember when I did take that course, the $50 course that got me in, I asked for like $625 or something to do like 10 classes, or like these different acting related seminars. They all have Scientology in them, the ARC triangle, so on and so forth, in order to get you indoctrinated into these different Scientology concepts. I didn't pay that, I just wanted to take one. $50,000 later, I ended up becoming a full-fledged Scientologist. So I just want to share some of those stories with you guys. I do have like an appointment I'm running to, that's why I'm talking a little bit fast. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more, then subscribe down below, turn your bell notifications, give this video a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think about everything we talked about here today. I am rushing because I am about to go out the door. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I love each and every single one of you, and well, most of you, 99% of you guys. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.